Well, welcome to the third of 3 videos looking at Agile project management. And what we're going to do during this particular video is look at the adaptive project management lifecycle model. This model looks very similar to what we saw in the iterative project management lifecycle model, and in fact identical, except we've changed the word iteration to cycle. But in fact, they're very, very different. During the adaptive project management lifecycle model, you're addressing problems where very little of the solution is known. You know some of it, but you really don't know a lot of it. So much more learning is going to take place. There's much more risk that's going to take place. You're not going to be able to do as detailed of planning because those you just don't know what solution you're going to use to meet the needs of the customer. All right, so let's look at how this rolls out. In that scoping phase, again, because you know so little, all you can do is set boundaries and high-level parameters for the project. You may be able to specify number of cycles and cycle length and map out some objectives, but you're going to have to learn a great deal during the process, and so scoping is limited. You still need to have enough here to get approval to move the project forward and to get a project overview statement signed off by executives. You then move into the planning phase, and during the planning phase, you're going to use the normal tools, templates, and processes, but remember, Agile is lean. And it's very lean when you're talking about an adaptive project management lifecycle model. You're going to have light documentation and light planning until you can learn more and just use the structure of the cycles to help you with that planning process. Again, you'll move from the planning phase or planning cycle into the launch phase. It's going to be very similar to what you had before. And then as you move into monitoring and control, the size of the scope bank is going to become important. Okay, and remember, the scope bank is going to hold all of the functionality that you may want to add to the project, and it's kind of prioritized by the client. If you look at these 3 diagrams, in the first diagram, you have a diverging scope bank in terms of size. So the size of the scope bank started out very small. It's growing rapidly now. And depending on where you are in the project, this may be a really bad sign because it may be that you've grossly underestimated how much work is going to be required to do this. You may not have the appropriate resources to solve this particular project. In the second case, the diagram B, it's slowing at least. You see a tapering off, and again, depending on where you are in the project, this may be a good sign or it may be too little too late. In the third case here, C, you have a decreasing scope bank. So it spiked up as you were learning, but now it's going back down, and it's going back down at a good pace so that there is some confidence that you're going to be successful in this project. Once you get to the close phase, you've got to make a determination whether you're going to continue the project or not, or go back for another cycle or release an intermediate release to your customers. All right, let's look at some of the characteristics, strengths, and weaknesses of the adaptive project management lifecycle model. So very similar to iterative in terms of at least the structure. You're doing just-in-time planning, just-in-time documentation, lots and lots of learning is going to take place, and you have a structure and a team focused on learning and discovery so that you can solve the challenges associated with a particular project. Has lots of advantages associated with it, but it does require meaningful client involvement. The client has to be heavily involved with this type of a project, and there is uncertainty. You're not going to be able to go in and guarantee a delivery date or a cost with this project when you're doing the scoping and the planning component, because so much learning must take place for the project to be successful. When do you want to use this particular model? Well, you use it when you have to. It's not a bad model, don't get me wrong, but again, so much learning has to take place that you've got to have support of senior leadership to use the adaptive project management lifecycle model. And it's very different than what you would see in a traditional project management lifecycle model. So let's walk through these phases again in terms of trying to get maximum effectiveness. During the scoping phase, you've got to go in, figure out what the real customer needs are, how much you really know about the solution, and how much you really do not know about the solution. Try to constrain that, then go ahead and write your project overview statement, get senior level approval for this project. From there, you move into the planning phase, and again, you're trying to plan out the next iteration or cycle that's going to take place. How much work is it going to take? What resources is it going to work? How do you sequence this and build a network diagram? Go ahead and write out your risk management plan. Document the cycle, not the entire plan, and then get approval to move forward with this particular project. From there, you're moving into the launch cycle. You're going to have to recruit a team, and you do that every cycle. Hopefully the team will be consistent, but you may have changeover during this, and you just need to be cognizant that each cycle you may have a different team or have new team members adding or leaving the team. You still need to bring the team together and go through a project description document. It's actually a project definition document. And then you want to work through the operating rules if you've got to change how you're going to do change management, again, with the expectation that a lot of change is going to take place, and you're going to have to work that into your processes. Work out your work packages, and then start into the monitoring and control cycle. Again, same thing, you're going to use the normal types of reports. Probably 15-minute daily meetings are going to be essential, and you want to look at the size of scope bank as you're going through to make sure you can kind of track it over time and see, are you converging towards a solution or diverging away from a solution. When you get to close the next iteration or cycle, again, you have to talk with the client and decide what to do. Are we going to do another cycle? Are we going to close the project? Are we going to abandon the project? And when you get to the close project, got to do the audit and the final report associated with that. And so you close out that project when really one of three things occur. Either the time and budget have been expended, and you cannot gain senior level management support for additional money or time. An acceptable solution has been found, or the project is actually being abandoned. Well, very good. This brings us to the end of the third of three videos looking at Agile project management. And during this particular video, we've looked at the adaptive project management lifecycle model. During the next series of videos, we'll be moving into looking at extreme projects. So keep on studying, keep on learning, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.